Buckle up, kids. This is the story about how I met your mother. Right out of college, I was just one of the many that just really didn't know what I wanted to do. At the time, I'd planned to move to Texas, live there for a year so that I could build up residency status and then go to graduate school at Texas A&M. But between graduating from college and moving, there was a little bit of a couple of months gap. You know, you gotta find like kind of a short-term job that pays relatively well, and I just happened to be walking through the mall one day, saw one of my friends who worked at Hollister at the Mall of Georgia. I took the interview, I got hired, and I'll never forget the very first day that I walked in, I see this girl working behind the cash register, and as soon as I saw this girl, I was like, oh my gosh, she is so hot. Come to find out, it was Ann. You know, it's kind of one of those weird situations because you're the manager, she's somebody that works there, you know, pretty strict rules about dating. We kind of started hanging out and stuff and getting to know one another, and as the time progressed, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I was laying it on thick. I mean, I was throwing the moves like crazy, but she was kind of just more interested initially in just kind of being friends. I was cool with that. Heck, I'm moving in a few months anyway, was my mindset. We hung out and, you know, we just liked having fun together. Unbeknownst to her, this was the slow play. And basically what we were doing is we were dating without dating. We really did have just a blast together, and time kind of got closer and closer to when I was supposed to leave. In fact, like my last sort of night there, we kind of had a farewell party. It was like really sad. I put on, you know, some sappy music. I think it was actually something corporate, Constantine, and it was playing over the whole store and stuff, and everybody's kind of like getting the store ready to close, and you know, we all went out and everything. And it was getting pretty close to New Year's Eve. I think my plan was to move on like January 3rd or something like that, pack up my stuff and move to Texas. Well, it was about 2 days before New Year's Eve, and I kind of asked Ann, hey, you know, I've got some friends that are hanging out on New Year's Eve. Do you want to just kind of come up there and hang out? And, you know, nothing special, but just didn't know if you had any plans. And she was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. Kind of unbeknownst to me, because I don't really think you know, I've never really put a whole lot of gravity into New Year's Eve. Like, I didn't really, when I was younger, I didn't really go out and do much on New Year's Eve, so I didn't really like kind of put two and two together that when the ball drops and it's a new year, you're supposed to kiss the person that you're with. Man, I wish I was like that smooth to have planned that out, but kind of as we're getting closer and closer, I'm kind of realizing, holy cow, I think this is like a thing, right? And my now sister-in-law, but at the time just a friend of ours, Emily, was like, hey, are you guys, and by the way, like, I used to text Emily like nonstop, holy cow, you know, Ann is the most beautiful girl in the world. One of these days, I'm gonna marry her. I'm gonna marry her. In fact, like, I might have had one or two mini at a concert once that Ann and I went to, and just like totally professed my love to her via text message, which is really cool. We're sitting there in a booth in this small little like restaurant dive bar in Dahlonega, Georgia, and it's like the countdown, 5, 4, my heart's just going 3, 2, 1. I look over, she looks at me, we kiss, and listen, this is gonna sound as corny as it comes to you, but I'm not joking that for the first time in my entire life, it was like the stuff of movies, like fireworks. I mean, it was just like unbelievable. Like, it was like this surge of energy. Like, I immediately knew this is the one. This is the girl that I have to marry. I mean, this is her. This is it. The tragedy of it all is now, after 3 to 4 months of just kind of casually hanging out, of me trying to convince her that I was the guy for her, like, we finally kiss and I'm moving in 2 days. We hung out every single day up until the point that I left. I got to Texas, and at the time my brother was still an undergrad there at Texas A&M, so we got an apartment together, and I was just miserable. I was just constantly miserable. Literally the weekend after I moved, I think I moved like on a Monday, got to College Station around like Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, and was on a plane to College Station on a Saturday. Hadn't even been like a week, she was already flying to come see me. I'm sitting here in this town. I don't really know a lot of people. All of my friends are actually like friends of my younger brother. I am working a couple jobs to, pay the rent until I get my residency status there. And the girl of my dreams lives miles and miles across the country from me. I was just miserable. So Ann and I had kind of talked about it. In fact, like, we just talked about this the other day. We had like a phone conversation of like, listen, like, I love you, you love me. It was just like this realization of like, I don't know how this is gonna work. This is not, how do we do this, So I woke up like in the middle of the night, just wide awake, and every ounce of my being, it was like, I just knew that I had to move back to Georgia. This is like 3 o'clock in the morning. I just start packing up all of my stuff. At the time I had this little Mazda pickup truck, and now it's closer to like 4 in the morning, and I just like knock on my brother's door. He kind of like, I'm like, hey man, I'm moving back to Georgia to be with Ann. Call me when you wake up. He was just kind of like, huh? Okay man. Rolled over, went to bed. On my drive back to Georgia, called this hospital that I worked at whenever I was in college, secured a job, secured a place to live, all of this in that long 12, 13, 14-hour drive back from College Station, Texas. Talked to my brother, told him, obviously, I guess my family's pretty used to me doing somewhat bold things, but at this point, everyone was kind of like, I mean, they didn't really know Ann at all, and they thought this was kind of an intense move, but once they heard in my voice like the definitive knowing that this is what I needed to do and what I had to do, they were kind of sold. They were just like, well, I mean, we're gonna miss you, but if you think this is the right thing to do, then this is the right thing to do. So I moved all the way back to Georgia. I'll never forget, like, literally how miserable it felt to be, as melodramatic as it sounds, to be that far away from her, and then equally how excited I was to be in the car heading towards her. That, kids, is the story of how I met your mother. Next time, or in another episode, I'm going to tell you the story of how I proposed to her. And with Valentine's Day on the close horizon, I felt like it would be a pretty good story to share.